Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Wacky Wednesdays!
Wacky Wednesdays!
Welcome to Wacky Wednesdays. I'm Christy Richardson, the Children's Director at Northside Church. Let's have some fun.
It's a noisy girl life. It's a noisy girl life.
This is one of my favorite wacky stories because it involves you and Northside Church. Many of you will probably remember this story. All right, years ago we were having VBS and we had partnered with an agency called Nothing But Nets. This agency provides nets to families in Africa that they can put around their bed to keep them from being bitten by mosquitoes. If they get bitten by mosquitoes, they could catch malaria, which is a sickness that can be serious and that you don't want to catch. So during opening assembly, we would talk about this to the kids and say, this is the outreach project that we're doing this year, so we're collecting money to provide as many nets as possible to these families in Africa. Well, we thought it would be a really fun and great idea if we had a mascot come out. And I think we even named him Buzz. So when we were thinking about who the mascot would be, my son was in junior high, and I thought, he'd be fine. He's up for it. His name's Jack. He'd be great, and he'd come out and he'd fly around, and he agreed to do it because he's super enthusiastic. So we were very proud of our idea. So Lisa got up there during the assembly and told everyone what we were doing. We were going to collect money for these nets to protect these children from the mosquitoes because you don't want to get bitten by a big, bad mosquito. And then we said, come on out, mascot. And so who comes running out to kind of creepy music, it wasn't creepy, but it was bzzz kind of music, is my son, who also happens to be 6 feet tall. He's dressed up like a mosquito with a big, sharp nose on the end. So he goes flying around everywhere, running at the children. And the older ones probably got a kick out of it. But the younger ones, the poor little 3 and 4-year-olds, were terrified. They were so scared of this 6-foot mosquito that they had just heard that if you got bitten by him, you could get really, really sick. So they had just heard that from Miss Lisa. And then here comes this mosquito flying around. Scared him half to death. Kids are crying, trying to get away, hiding with their adult volunteer. Of course, we felt awful, so we had to fix it. By the end of the week, we worked with one of our volunteers where she was able to kind of be the mosquito translator, the Buzz translator, and Buzz would tell her things during the assembly, and we would tell the kids that Buzz just really wanted to be your friend and that he's just lonely, and he's not a bad mosquito.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, it seemed like we were so well-intentioned, and we blew it. We blew it so badly, we made it in a national magazine in a segment called The Oops Files. They published our story because
So bad.
It was so bad.
So bad.
That's my wacky story.
1, 2, 3, 4. Wacky Staffy, taking us back, making us laugh. Wacky Staffy, making us laugh. It's a wacky staff. It's a wacky staff. Woo!
My name is Lori, and I am the pastor's secretary at Northside Church. So I work with pastors Daphne and Don and Gary, and I answer the phone and greet people when they come in. And today the story that I wanted to share with you is something that happened to me when I was 8 years old, and I was on vacation with my family, my mom and dad and my brother, and we went to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we went to Independence Hall one day, which is where the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, July 4. You can talk to your parents about that. And it was like a museum to me. So it was very big, it was very quiet, and we had a group of people, visitors, who we were going through the museum with, and we had a guide or a teacher who was telling us about everything. And what happened during the tour is that I got hiccups really bad. And it was a very quiet place, and these hiccups would just not go away. I was like, don't know if you've seen somebody or know somebody who's had hiccups or you've had hiccups, but they were very loud. And I was kind of embarrassed. And then all of a sudden our teacher, our guide, she stopped talking. And she looked right at me, and she came up to me with this kind of grumpy face. And she pointed her finger at me and she said, you told a lie today, didn't you? And I was just shocked. You know, I was like, I didn't tell a lie today, not today, you know? So I was like, really didn't know what to do or what to say. I was a little bit scared. And then she turned from being grumpy and she smiled, really nice smile. And she said, aha, now your hiccups are gone, aren't they? And they were. So she had kind of gently scared those hiccups right out of me. So it was kind of a funny story. And then everybody in our group sort of giggled and laughed, and they were glad my hiccups were gone. Just remember, God is always with you, every moment of your life.
Bible story. Yeah.
Yes, He is. God is with us all the time.
Oh, and thank goodness for that. So
Even when we make mistakes.
we do. Our intentions are good. Our hearts are pure. But man, we blow it sometimes.
Like we blew it with the mosquito.
Yeah, sorry about that. But thank you for the grace that you parents of Northside give us time and time again.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
We need
The
it.
terror of the children was not intentional.
No, we didn't intend to scare
It
anybody.
wasn't.
Our hearts were good. Our intentions were good.
Yes, just like the lady in Lori's story. She just wanted to help with the hiccups. She didn't mean to scar Lori.
No.
For that.
But it does remind us of a guy in the Bible who
Sure does.
had the same thing going. He was well-intentioned, but he made some mistakes. So Lisa's going to tell us about him.
Yes, and it is about Peter, everyone. He was a disciple of Jesus. We know him as the Apostle Peter. He was wonderful, and Peter was impetuous. Everyone say impetuous.
Impetuous.
That just means that sometimes he acted before thinking or before speaking. It's because he was so passionate and confident.
Sounds like someone I know.
Sorry, guys. Poor Christy has had to rein me in a little bit, but I
Think
again,
before you speak. I
yes,
don't know how many
Peter
times.
had such a good heart, and we see him as an example of the disciples who sometimes he just blurted things out with a good and passionate heart he had, and Jesus had to rein him back in or correct him. And some simple stories about that are in the Gospels. One of them is when the famous story of when Jesus was washing their feet. That was typically something for servants to do. So, of course, Peter, thinking that he's doing the right thing, says, Lord, you're never going to wash my feet. To which Jesus had to correct him because he was trying to show that being a servant was important. He had to correct him then. Then another time, he was telling the disciples how he was going to be arrested by the officials and the Pharisees. It was going to be a bad time. Peter, thinking he's going to be loyal, no way, we'll never let that happen to you. Jesus had to correct him again. In fact, he had to be like, get behind me, Peter. Stop trying to tempt me about that. And so, again, he had to learn, oh, my goodness, there's a plan for everything, and my passion sometimes is getting in the way for that. Then the third one, he was telling Jesus, I'm never going to turn away from you. I'm never going to stumble. And Jesus had to be like, well, actually, you're going to deny me 3 times, which he did.
We know what happened there.
Oh, he did. And again, the last kind of a big one was when Jesus was being arrested. Peter, in his passion and love and loyalty for Jesus, took his sword out to get involved, and unfortunately, poor man, I think his name was Malchus, lost his ear. But Jesus put that back on, and it all worked out. But the thing that we want to point out to you and with Peter is that he had good intentions, he made mistakes, but Jesus' love and grace for him did not end with that. And this imperfect, impetuous Peter is who the church was built on. And Jesus even told him, he said, you are my rock. The church will be built on you. Thank goodness for such a loving God, that he doesn't expect us to be perfect. He does look into our hearts and sees what our intentions are, and we continue to try to live as well as we can. And sometimes we're just like Peter, and we get it wrong, and we have to be corrected. But Peter never stopped because he was encouraged and loved by Jesus Christ.
So there's hope for us, even
There
when
is.
we make big mistakes.
Yes.
Thank
God
goodness.
uses broken people to do wonderful things and imperfect people to do beautiful things in his name. So let's just keep at it, I guess.
Keep doing some beautiful things,
Yes.
guys. And until we see you on Sunday, you all have a great week.
Have
See
a
you
great
soon.
week.